So once we've defined what our ambulance class, we've defined what an ambulance looks like, and we've defined what should happen when we say that we want a new ambulance. But just with as when we define a function, we're just at this stage just defining, we're just telling Python what a class looks like in the same way that we just tell Python this is what a function looks like. Nothing will happen until we say that we want to do something with it. And in the case of a class definition, that basically means we want to create an instance of this class, i.e. we want to go through instantiation. So having created our class here and told Python what an ambulance is, I can then create a new ambulance. And I'm going to call mine Dan's ambulance. And so I use an assignment operation here to say Dan's ambulance equals, and what I want Dan's ambulance to be is an ambulance. So I use the name of the class and open brackets, and I need to pass in anything that the constructor needs. And remember, we said here that when a new ambulance is created, ignore the self bit, it's going to need these two things. So it's going to need the name of the trust and the registration number, and it'll then assign those to the attributes for that particular object. So here I need to pass in those two things when I create an ambulance. So I'm going to pass in chalk NHS trust and this registration number, and that will create a new ambulance. And that, now Dan's ambulance, is an instance of the ambulance class. It is an object. It is an ambulance. And so I can then do things with Dan's ambulance. So I can say Dan's ambulance dot drive, which remember is one of the methods that I defined. So that basically, remember, our dot notation says access the attribute or method that belongs to this thing. So this is saying, give me the drive method of Dan's ambulance and call it passing in a speed of 50 miles per hour. This says call the turn on siren method of Dan's ambulance. This says call the park method of Dan's ambulance, and apparently I'm parking at the cake shop. But the key advantage of object-oriented programming is it allows us to create multiple instances, multiple objects, but we only have to define the class once. So if we want 20 ambulances, we only have to define what an ambulance is once, and then we just create instances of those classes and work with them all separately. So I can then just as easily create a separate instance of the ambulance. This one is Sammy's ambulance, and that one belongs to Rossa Healthcare and has this registration number. And Sammy's ambulance here can be driving along at 70 miles per hour, sirens blaring, and she's attending an incident whilst my one apparently has just turned up at a cake shop, which sounds about right. So we can work with those objects as completely separately, and we access the methods and the attributes that we defined within the class definition.